Hello, welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. We'll bring you the top stories that made headlines this week and how the various media outlets capture those stories. In a bit, I'll introduce to you my panel and also tell you what stories made headlines this week. Stay with us. So this is what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Now, some number of stories made headlines this week, starting from issues to do with some killings of women in the Ashanti region. We'll be looking at that story and how it was captured by media outlets across the country. And also, the coronavirus discussion is still ongoing. There's a back and forth between parents and students who are stuck in Wuhan and authorities over being evacuated to Ghana. But authorities are saying they haven't got the clearance from WHO to do that. We'll be looking at that story. And also issues of discipline pops up again over senior high schools, whether we are applying the right sanctions when they go contrary to rules and regulations set by the schools. We'll look at that as well. And later, the government this week showcased to us what they've done so far relating to their manifesto. We'll also look at that story in a bit. So let's go to the papers and see how they captured it, as well as online outlets. Let's start with the issue to do with unresolved murders and go to Citi Newsroom. Now, they say Ashanti region Attah-Mensah slams police service over silence on mysterious deaths. Let's go to the Ghanaian Times. It says police grab man over gruesome murder allegedly involved in gang raping, killing nurse in Kumasi. We go back to the Citi Newsroom. Ashanti Regional Health Directorate calls for calm after Ruth Eshan's death. Let's go to the new publisher, see how they capture the story to do with the unresolved murders in the Ashanti region. And it says Attah-Mensah wants insecurity in the Ashanti region addressed. We go back to Citi Newsroom because it says Ghanaians push hashtag justice for Ruth Eshan campaign to demand justice for murdered nurse. We still stay with Citi Newsroom. It says, find Ruth Eshan's killers or face our wrath. This is coming from community health nurses to government. Now, Parliament has waded into the discussion. Its health committee calls for improved security for health workers. And we finish it up with Citi Newsroom. It says, Parliament Health Committee wants Interior Minister IGP summoned over nurse's death. Let's move away from that and go to the town hall meeting which happened in the Ashanti region, Kumasi, the results fair, and see what came out of that program. Citi Newsroom says Ghana Citi is the best performing currency against US dollar. The Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, speaking. Ghanaian Times, at town hall meeting in Kumasi, we have put economy on growth path, says VIP as he touts government's achievements in 3 years. The new publisher, Ghana is on course. Government has stabilized economy. The Chronicle, Bawumia mocks NDC's attempt at comeback. Kwatrekwa se obe wo intuma well, I can't get the chief properly, so I'll move on from that. Citi Newsroom says critics of dollar track system have no alternative. That's Bawumia speaking. Daily Graphic, 78% of promises delivered, Vice President. Daily Guide this time says NDC CD raised like Usain Bolt. This is Bawumia speaking. Citi Newsroom, we have delivered 78% of our promises, Bawumia. The Finder, 78% of MPP's promises delivered, over 300 promises delivered. This is Dr. Bawumia speaking. And then we'll wrap it up with a Daily Statesman. It says, we are delivering. Baumia wonders what Mahama seeks a comeback to do. We'll move on to our third topic to do with the coronavirus and go to Citi Newsroom. Coronavirus, government must evacuate our children from Wuhan. This is Ghanaian parents demanding that. The Chronicle, evacuate stranded Ghanaians in China now, minority. Citi Newsroom says, coronavirus, we won't give up until Ghanaians in China are evacuated, minority. The Ghanaian publisher, coronavirus screening at ports meet WHO requirements, Dr. Sarkodie. And Citi Newsroom again says, coronavirus, WHO hasn't recommended evacuation of Ghanaian students yet. This is the Health Ministry. Our final story to do with the Jusuman girls viral video, and we go to Citi Newsroom says, second errant Jusuman students from boarding house won't reform them. This is African Education Watch. The new publisher, Jusuman SHS, sacks 7 students from boarding house over video. Citi Newsroom, deboardingizing 7 Jusuman students, standard punishment. This is an educationist speaking there. Citi Newsroom again, don't sack errant Jusuman students, rehabilitate them. Child Rights International. The Chronicle says, when dollars are flowing, coins are making noise. Jusuman SHS at it again. Back to Citi Newsroom, it says, Jusuman Senior High School, dismissal of 7 students from boarding house generates heated debate. And we wrap it up with Citi Newsroom. It says, monitor your wards in school. National PTA president to parents and guardians. So those are the top stories for the week. And let's get back to the studio and let me introduce my guests for today. I have Attah-Mensah is with Citi FM and Citi TV. Samuels, welcome.
Thank you.
And then I have Selorm Adonoo, is head of features here at Citi FM and Citi TV. Selorm, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
So, gentlemen, let's start with the unresolved murders in the Ashanti region. Now, we're seeing this growing trend of women being killed. The one that has sparked quite a lot of agitations, I must say, on social media and gotten us talking is the one to do with the community health nurse, Ruth Ashan, who was killed a few days ago in the Ashanti region as well. But there's still the discussions over the unresolved murders in general we've seen over a period, from the likes of J.B. Dankwa, from Ahmed Swale to Fenwick Autry, and quite a number of people and all that. Let's pick your general comments on these unresolved murders we've seen in the country over the period. Then we'll narrow it down to the Kumasi killings and particularly women.
Yes, thanks so much, Vivian. I mean, any kind of crime is not good, and if it is something which has to do with taking the life of somebody unlawfully, then it even becomes worse. So the instances we've seen in the past, like what you recounted, Ahmed Swale, Josephine Ashanti, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority lady, quite a number of them. I mean, and we've not seen any decisive action from the security agencies. I think it's poor, it's bad. Providing security of that nature is not something you can do for yourself. You can only be security conscious and make sure that you don't get yourself into some spaces. But if somebody is determined to attack and kill you, I mean, sometimes there's very little you can do about it, though you may try. So it's the duty or the responsibility of the security agencies or the security of the duty of the state to provide security. And indeed, that is one of the core functions of government or of the state, to provide its citizens with proper or sufficient or adequate security. If that is lacking, then we have a problem. So for that reason, the state has set up agencies, security agencies. So in this case, we have the Ghana Police Service, so whose primary mandate is to maintain law and order and to protect life and property. So if a portion of their mandate, which is to protect life and property, is not really happening, then we may say that the police service is not delivering satisfactorily. So the deaths have been unresolved. Those ones which have managed to get to the court, we've not seen a lot of commitment in that space. Talk about the JB Dankwa one.
Yeah.
I mean, we've not seen a lot of commitment from the state on that. The gentleman comes to court, wants to talk, and does something, they go back. And, to date, we are at the committal stage of the hearing. The murder trial proper hasn't begun, and it was in 2016 that happened, 4 years on, and the trial itself hasn't started. And for me, I think it is not a good showing for our security and even our judicial system. It only saps confidence. There is this thing about justice. When the thing happens and justice is delivered or given in good time, of course, I understand that the court system and the wheels of justice grind slowly, like we say. But once we see that some effort is happening and the powers that be appear committed to the process, it gives the people confidence. But if we don't see that, then it appears that we are being treated, unsatisfactorily. So I think on that front, in terms of the general comment on the unresolved deaths generally, that's what I have to say.
So the police and the judicial part, they are not really stepping up to it. Cement, your general thoughts on this matter?
I think Selorm has made a point, and for me, it's just a test of our capabilities as a nation. Unresolved murders, they do happen in every country, even in the so-called developed countries. And so it's not unheard of. I think the departure here is repeating the same failures over time. So what pertains elsewhere is that if there's an unresolved murder, the police will make sure that they learn a few things from the whole process of looking for the culprits, so that if it's repeated again, it aids them in finding out the causes. But it looks like in this part of the world, in between time, we get the same story. Somebody has been murdered. The next is we are looking for him. 2 months after, we forget. The police stop doing what they're doing. You find them on the streets taking money from people again. And you have a lot more policemen on the streets taking money from commercial drivers than on the beat looking for murderers. So for me, I think it's a time to rethink, because we have our problems designed for us. We know what our problems are, that our urban and town infrastructures are not structured to even aid the police in finding out some of these mysteries, like it is elsewhere, where there are CCTVs, there are cameras here, cameras there, there are plainclothes informants here, We are not structured to even help the police. And the police is helpless, yes, that's true. Secondly, they haven't proven to be capable. And so I don't see why we wake up and we pretend to be surprised at what we are seeing. I mean, look at JB Dankwa's situation, for instance. It's been how many years?
4 years.
4 years. We don't know what happened. Yes, people have been, arrested and all that, but we don't know how it's being concluded. And there have been several of them. So we are saying that, when is this going to stop? Because, like I always say, it always happens to the other person.
You never know when it will happen to you.
You never know when it's going to get close to you. And that's why the Bantu Mahene's call must be taken more seriously.
Seriously. And the sad thing about, let's move to the Kumasi one then, since you brought the Bantamahini, is how the police has been silent on all this.
Well, I think you call it silence, but I call it clueless. You call it silence, but I say it's they have no clue. Because as a police service, a competent one, if indeed you have clue, you share so that you can put the hearts of people at rest.
Yes, yes.
The world over.
Yes.
It's done. Indeed, you determine how much information you should share to the public. But not saying anything at all is an insult to the community. And so that's why when I see police people by the roadside taking money from people, I get angry within me. Because of all the things that you can do to help this country, taking money from trotro drivers and all these people, it's not one of them. Look, go to the Cape Coast Road. You see there plenty. So I ask, don't they have any other job to do? So you have, the numbers are there. And yet, few people are committed to chasing some of these beats, or few people are capable of doing the work of, finding out some of these murder cases.
Selorm, 7 women in the Ashanti region.
It's pathetic, and for 7 women to die in the space of 11 months or 1 year, I think it's a very sad commentary on the state of our police institution. So 1 happens, the 2nd happens, the 3rd happens, the 4th happens, and the 7th happened. So if the latest one, which has generated the whole discussion, the Ruth Ishan one, and the hashtag Justice for Ruth Ishan. If it hadn't been that her colleague nurses across the country decided to fight for her in this manner, we would have swept it under the carpet like the rest of them. And indeed, that's why I was quite disappointed when the regional minister, spoke in a manner that suggested that it wasn't a big deal. And said, yes, 7 people some were killed in their houses, etc. So do we expect him to go from house to house inspecting or providing security? He clearly did not understand what he was saying. You are the chairman of the Regional Security Council. And indeed, it is your job to ensure the general security of the region, including things which potentially are a threat to security. Things like even unemployment. Things like, unemployment. I mean, unemployment is a big deal. But a lot of people don't even connect the national security implications. But you are a regional minister. You know those ones. So what is the end result of unemployment?
He says it's general security, not household security.
There will be chaos. People will die. Properties will be lost, etc. That is why we take security seriously. In this case, the result of what, for example, unemployment will do has happened. People have been killed. I'm not saying it's unemployment necessarily. People have been killed. That is the height of it. You don't get it worse than that. People have been killed, and 7 or so of them have been killed, and you don't appear alarmed. In fact, the police service in that area must be ashamed of itself. And we have the same regional commander at post, and 7 people have died. Indeed, the same regional commander was at post when the Asawasi shootings happened. About 7 people or so were killed needlessly. The same regional commander is at post. And I don't think anybody is asking any serious questions of him. Nobody is asking any serious questions of him. So he thinks things are normal. This has happened. By now, we should have regular updates. They should be in touch with the family. They should be doing things to suggest that they are serious about it. But we don't see that. And you see, like I said, what this does is that it saps the confidence of the people in the region. They lose confidence in the system, and that is bad. And rather, it emboldens the evildoers or the criminals to do more, because they know when they do it, nobody will come after them. So they are in the community, and nobody cares. And the people are terrified. Every morning, they wake up, they don't know whether they will come back to sleep safely. It is a terrible situation, and I think we must call out the police. When they do well, we praise them. But when they don't do well, we shouldn't be shy. We should call them out and ensure that they do the right things.
Okay, let's wrap up on this. What's your final thoughts on this case as we wrap up and move on?
I think that as a country, we need to be more realistic in determining our security needs. Equipping the police is great, but it should not be limited to buying vehicles and cartridges and rifles for them. I think the infrastructure that is needed in our towns and cities to aid the police in terms of finding out some of these murders and stuff that happen in our society should also be added, because without cameras and CCTV stuff on our roads and no light on our streets, darkness everywhere, the police, yes, we expect much from the police, but they are not magicians. There are certain things they can't do, no matter what we do. You can buy them 1,000 cars, they can't do anything, because they are not present at all times everywhere. So I'm just saying that even trying to do our needs assessment, for security needs assessment, we should come to reality with the times we live in.
Okay.
And a quick one. You see, when deaths like this or killings like this happen, we hear the police place a bounty on it. Okay, anybody who gives information to us. We've not seen anything like that. No. I have not.
It appears that they can't. They don't see. Maybe they don't see this as a big deal.
But that's sad.
Yeah.
So like the Bantamahine said, we need to. The system must help us. Yeah. So, for example, there are areas where there are no street lights. It's in the dark.
He was demanding that there are some street lights.
You see your shadows somewhere, and you are afraid. It's not correct. So I think the system must also help. I mean, where the street lights must be, let's provide street lights. And the way it has become, I think we must take our personal security a bit more seriously, because it appears that if we want to depend on the system, we'll be in trouble. So you make sure when you are going out in the night, you don't go alone. You don't go out in the night, or you don't stay out for too long. I mean, things like that. I think when we take those things a bit more seriously on the personal level, it may help.
Okay. So you're watching What the Papers Are Saying live on DSTV channel 363. You can join the conversation. You can send us a message by +233 055 058 5832. We'll be right back. When we come back, we'll look at the coronavirus and assertions from the Ghana Health Service that they don't intend to evacuate students from Wuhan anytime soon. Why? Stay with us. Welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. We'll move to the issue of the town hall meeting and the results fair. On Tuesday, the Vice President touted government's achievements so far, just opposing it to their manifesto. Interesting one we saw over there, over 300 or 70% and more things achieved so far. Selorm, I start with you through that town hall meeting and watched it.
Yes, like I said, it's a good undertaking, good program, and anything to deepen accountability and provide the populace more information on governance, I'm for it. It's good, and indeed it's a constitutional imperative that the people who give you the mandate, every now and then you account to them. That's why I think within the last regime we had something called accounting to the people, where the president had to go around, to meet the people and account to them. Maybe the accounting didn't balance, So I mean, so it's a good thing. The nature of the program was good. I liked the optics. I liked how, the figures were put out and everything. And like I said, Dr. Bawumia has this way of delivering, using modern communication tools, including graphs. I mean, infographics, everything to drive home the point, and it appeals to a lot of people. And he does so whilst emphasizing that figures or data won't lie or doesn't lie. So it's good. It sounds good. Again, it's a story. It's a story he is telling, and you put your best foot forward. It's a story he is selling and telling. I'm sure if you brought somebody else from another place to come and say the same thing, they may say it slightly different. Like Imani. Imani says they counted about 510 promises.
500 promises.
And they graded the government below 50%.
Yes, 48
now,
or so.
48%. Government now comes and says, no, the promises were 388. We've achieved 303. And we grade ourselves 78%. I'm sure when another person comes, there'll be some. So they are essentially selling their story, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's interesting that when you look at how much time he spent on various things, I mean, I think it reflects the government's focus or what government thinks is important, especially as we are getting into an election year. So it was so to us that it was a town hall meeting to talk about manifesto promises and where we are. And I heard Kojo Ponkrumah saying that government will be brutally frank in telling us what they've not even been able to do or even touch at all. So I was expecting that right from minute one, we will have, like, maybe this is what we promised, this is what we've done. But Dr. Bawumia, smartly and rightly so, had a different approach.
So this is what he did. He started, he used 35 minutes to talk about the macroeconomy. His introduction was over 7 minutes. The banking sector, he spent about 60 minutes and did quite a comprehensive, analysis of it and why the decision to revoke the licenses were done. Then he went to the real sector, about 8 minutes. Then he was big on digitization, over 12 minutes. Free SHS, 8 minutes. Infrastructure, just 3 minutes. And then the manifestos, he spent 16 minutes.
Yes, so exactly the point. So you see that he spent about 35 minutes talking about the macroeconomy. Indeed, that is his forte. And fortunately, that is the side government is done very well. I mean, it appears all the key indicators are looking good. The fundamentals, they call it, appear to be pointing in the right direction. So it only makes sense that he will spend a lot of time there and drive home the point that if the economy is doing well, then it's just a matter of time for other things to also fall in place. He spent time also talking about digitization. That is his baby. That is a pet project. And that appears to be appealing, or that is actually the life of the middle class. They want to use digital system. They want to make payments this way. They want to, so that is the life. And these are the people that Bawumia in 2016 especially appealed to. And doing these things will keep them
They didn't work. They didn't work. All the issues we are seeing.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. Maybe the major verdict will be passed somewhere in December. But the banking sector, for example, we spent quite some time in the banking sector. About 16 minutes of the time was spent on the banking sector. My thinking is that the banking sector and matters emanating from there are likely to play key roles or a key part in the election. So a number of microfinance institutions, about 400 of them, have collapsed. They've gone down with jobs. Banks, somebody said I shouldn't say banks have collapsed anymore. I shouldn't say so because banks have been merged. So banks have been merged, some jobs have been lost, etc. And the way the narrative is being put out there from the other side appears that, as if the system is crumbling. So I thought it was important for him to spend time on it and talk about why it was necessary for them to do so at the time and what would have happened if they hadn't done so. So I think he did quite a good job on that. But again, it remains to be seen whether that worked well or not.
And then the reassurance of the payment, which is a big thing.
And the
for
payment is also crucial. The president said in December that they were going to be paid. We're not sure where the money is going to come from because we didn't see that in the budget. But all of a sudden, we hear that they are going to be paid. I think they will have to do some re-engineering somewhere to get the money.
And especially when the ex-president also recently said they will not be able to pay within a year as well.
So that again remains to be seen. But it's interesting. He spent just 3 minutes talking about infrastructure. I don't know what that means. Is it that they didn't have enough to say in that arena, or what? The opposition has been on the necks of government saying that government isn't invested enough in infrastructure, etc.
Capital expenditure.
Capital expenditure. And if this is anything to go by, spending 3 minutes just on infrastructure, I think tells a few things. And the main thing itself, he spent 16 minutes. I didn't say 16 minutes is bad, but spending 35 minutes on the macroeconomy and spending 16 minutes on why the program was organized, I mean, clearly tells where the focus for the government and Bawumia especially is. So I think good exercise, we need more of those. But I expected to hear more on governance and accountability, especially as we keep seeing scandals of corruption, etc., and what exactly they are doing to deal with it, because they indeed promised greater accountability. They promised, you know, on campaign platforms that they will not have instances where guinea fowls and co will fly out of the country to other people. I mean, we heard all those things, you know. So I expected more on those areas, but I didn't also hear anything about Galamsey. They promised in the manifesto that they were going to regularize small-scale mining. And given the turn of events on that front, I expected him to say a few things, but I didn't hear anything.
Okay, let's bring in Samez. Good exercise?
Oh, yeah, definitely. By all standards, I think again, Selorm laid a good foundation on that. And but, you know, my only departure is I'm not thinking that the duration, the amount of time he spent on the themes necessarily reflects the commitment that government has on a particular topic or particular area. I think it's just the engagement with different publics and what they felt needed a bit more elucidation, if you like, because take free SHS, for instance, and I think that the intervention of free SHS is the most revolutionary intervention that this country has seen since Kwame Nkrumah. He spent how many minutes? 8 minutes?
Free SHS about 8 minutes, yes.
8 minutes?
Yes.
Now, is that to say that it's not the most important thing? And we know the answer. No. It's there for all to see. And so there are no questions about it. So maybe he will just touch on it and move. Now, the issue of macroeconomy are things that for some of us who even pride ourselves of having been educated, we don't have full understanding of macroeconomic issues. And I don't. And I say I don't because I have a master's degree and I did my master's project in development economics, you know. And so we don't have the... So I can see why he will spend more time. And he's become like the poster child for macroeconomics in Ghana, not just under MPP. And so a lot will be expected of him. You know, if Dr. Bawumia left the macroeconomy issue unsaid or unattended to, I'm sure people would have gone to town.
That the fundamentals are now weak.
But he left the Galamsey and nobody is even raising it. So there are some expectations that come with it. And I think that he did a perfect job. Next question is, but we don't see it in our pockets. You know, the difference between macroeconomics or the macroeconomy and the micro is, for me, is very simple. If I promise you a hospital, it's not the same as healing. The hospital and the facility will be available. Now, having access and the other elements that come with it, taking good care of yourself and all the attitudinal issues that come with it will now ensure your healing. So I'm saying that first of all, without having a good macro, you will never get a good micro. And so if they are consistent in maintaining or even improving the macro over time, the macro will start also improving. You understand? Now, I think that you couldn't have had it any better that this kind of accountability is displayed at this level. Because this is it. I'm here. This is what I think I've done. Media, you can take me on. And everybody seems to be happy with what he said. Now, that doesn't mean that there are no flaws in all the things he said. I mean, there's still some work in progress, some things to be done. For me, I think that there's a bit more work to be done in the health delivery. We've seen some major successes in the introduction of the medical drones, which, again, some people thought that they could just make nonsense out of it and belittle it. But the whole world out there is even hailing Ghana and applauding the country for doing that. So I'm saying that, yes, we've chalked successes, and rightly so. So he had to say what he had to say. I was expecting to hear a more formidable response from the minority or the opposition. I've heard bits here and there, but I'm not sure that so far we've heard something more.
I think the biggest we've heard is from Adonoo on the
that was just an interview.
Yes, yeah,
I'll be surprised if they don't mount a formidable.
Well,
to use a message word, I'll be surprised if they don't mount a formidable, response to this.
Yeah. But see, in these things, there's only one truth. There's only one truth, and most of the time, the international community knows a bit more than we the locals.
So
in some of these things, I consider them as the referees. So I don't see how Baumia will go and use figures that are wrong figures to deceive who. But hey, what do I know?
You're right. So we'll leave it at that and go to Wuhan, China, and look at the coronavirus and the back and forth over whether we should evacuate the Ghanaian students in Wuhan who have been pleading for about 2 or 3 weeks to come back home. Evacuation. The ministry and the Ghana Health Service says we can't do that. We've been having talks with the World Health Organization. They're saying it's not safe to move you back here. But we've seen other countries, Australia, UK, US, and even in Africa, Algeria, Libya, India, and all that, evacuating their students, bringing them home, quarantining them when they get back and all that. But, the issues being raised by the two sides, but first, can we afford to bring them back to Ghana? Can we go through the quarantine business when they're back to Ghana and then taking them back when everything is over, if it ends and all that? There are all these questions that we look at. And is it safe for us to even bring them back and all that?
Interesting, Vivian. I think the question it's not a question about whether we can afford in monetary terms ferrying them back to Ghana. Because that should be easy. But it's the cost, not the cost as in money, but the cost,
implications, the health and all
the danger it may pose, and it's a very difficult issue to make. But so we are saying the WHO says that it's not advisable to do so. But yes, other people are doing it. But I think we must assess our capacity or capability to deal with some of these things. And our understanding is that the whole Wuhan city is in a lockdown or has been in lockdown.
So how come some are able to
so my understanding is that before even you get into that system, the Chinese authority themselves must, have a say, must help you before you can go in there. My only difficulty is that because the place has become sort of deserted, shops are closed. So if you don't have enough, reserve of food and other consumables and things, you will struggle a bit. But to bring some of these people back, that's China. That's where the whole world's attention is. That's where the best of medical care, maybe in respect of this, is. A lot of labs and scientists are working so hard to get some breakthrough in respect of this. That's where all is happening. And then you move the people from there and you bring them to Ghana and our emergency response system. Something happens.
Well, they said all the regional hospitals are ready for any case.
Who? Like Ghana? Of course. We have to see.
Ready to detect.
Then you probably move to the next level.
Ready to detect. Because nobody is solving this problem yet.
So I think it's, I can feel the anxiety and pain of the parents and friends and guardians and the students themselves, because it's like you are somewhere, the thing is getting closer, I don't even know when it may happen, etc. and your government appears not too interested. But maybe that's exactly not the case. I think the government is looking at the issue from maybe a utilitarian principle side of things, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So is it in the greater interest of the country to bring people from somewhere, and in case one of them has it, then it becomes a problem for everybody? So I think it's a very thorny issue, and it's not just very straightforward, like saying go and evacuate them because people are evacuating their people. We heard today that London is recorded one new case, and this is the UK we are speaking about, and that person returned from China, and they are racing against time to ensure that the person does well and recovers. I hear the recovery rates are getting better. WHO says we shouldn't celebrate yet, and it may be deceptive to think so. So we should still work hard at it. But having about 1,300 people dying out of this and about 44,000 people infected so far,
60,000.
60,000.
Wow. I think that is serious. And in Ghana, we like to pray, and prayer works for us.
It should work for us this time too.
We don't get...
Yes, we bring them back.
I think the conversation about bringing them back, I don't think it's far-fetched. You know, is it Tamale who says, who feels it knows it? So, those who are feeling it know what they are feeling and what they are going through. So the request to be brought back to Ghana is not unreasonable. Having said that, we also need to appreciate the structure of the problem. We woke up one day in December and heard the name Wuhan. Most of us had never heard Wuhan before. True. And it's been mentioned so many times that it's beginning to feel like it's a village somewhere in China. I mean, Wuhan is with a population of about 11 million people. So it's not a small town. 11 million people. And in a space of 1 month or 3 weeks, about 5 to 6 million people left the city. Where have they gone? Neighboring countries. Some have traveled to families in the Western world. So what I'm saying is that the request to bring our people back is not unreasonable because we have not banned Chinese people from coming to Ghana.
That's right.
And you don't know who left Wuhan in December and went to the UK and now is coming to Ghana. So I don't think it's a sin to bring them back. The only thing is that, truth be told, we don't have what it takes. Because I don't know of any country that has done evacuation without their own aircrafts. And I don't know all commercial aircraft have stopped going to Wuhan.
Wuhan, that's right.
So how else are we going to bring? Is that we don't know how to bring them. And we don't have what it takes. Unless, like Libya did, they partnered with Algeria and I think Tunisia or one of those countries. And then Algeria brought all the Libyan students out of the place. If we can do that, that's even fine. But that's not to say that our authorities are sleeping. No, I know that Edward Boateng has been working hard around the situation. How about the parents? If you are a parent with your ward or your son, daughter in this situation, you're not going to sleep. So I think that the call is legitimate. If the Ghana Health Service says that bringing them back, what is the last statement they said? That is they are not even going to talk about bringing them back.
To do with what they are relying on what the WHO will say, and the WHO is telling them don't.
No. How can WHO tell you not to bring your own people?
I think that the WHO is being cautious because they fear that if you move people from that place to maybe ground zero like Ghana, where nothing is happening.
I can understand the reasoning, but how different is Libya from Ghana?
You see, So our authorities are being, they are being convenient in relying on the WHO.
So the statement says
it's not a law.
Sub-regional consultation. The West African Health Organization is engaging member states and has not recommended evacuation yet. Public health principles and outbreaks.
We should just tell the truth that we don't have what it takes to evacuate them. We don't have. I mean, who wants to go to Wuhan at this stage? Ghanaian? You tell them to go to Wuhan, they will disown the country and run away. so I'm saying that we should just speak the truth. Maybe rely on other countries with superior medical arrangements. Because the thing is that if it happens, even one person gets this coronavirus here, we are in trouble.
Yeah.
We are in big trouble. So I can understand why they are a bit reluctant, because we know that we are not ready. That's the truth.
Okay.
This is not malaria.
No. So you're watching what the papers are saying. I'm with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. We'll be right back. We'll look at discipline in our senior high school. Stay with us. Don't go away. Welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Here with me is Selorm Adonoo and Attah-Mensah. Gentlemen, let's wrap up with the Ejusman girls' viral video. So in the end, authorities debordinized these students for what they did with that video and all that. But there's been a bit of debate over how the authorities went over it, with some saying a bit harsh. It won't deal with the matter of what we are seeing in terms of indiscipline and all that. They should be counseled, and quite a number of suggestions coming up and back and forth. Have we lost it with discipline in our schools? And are we doing it wrongly, you know, bringing in all kinds of cultures that really will not help students get the discipline we want them to have in the schools?
You see, we will lose it if we keep listening to the so-called activists. It's a standard punishment to debordinize people. We sit here and complain every day about people not respecting laws, about chaos in society, etc. And we have said that one of the key functions of law is to reform society or reform behavior. Don't bring mobile phones to school. You've taken mobile phones to school. That is in breach of the law. What should we do? Should we counsel you? We need to punish you. If you don't punish you, you will do it again. The kinds of things they said, yes, people may know worse things, but the kinds of things they said and were bold enough to put it out there, you know, means they could do, maybe they do worse things when people are not watching. That's no problem. But now it has come out, authorities have seen it, authorities have met over it and decided what is in the best interest of the school and what is in the best interest of the rest of the children or the students. I think that when students go wrong, we must punish them. It is this same attitude of pampering people that has left us with this kind of society. Let's punish them and let's ensure that they learn their lessons. When they remain in the boarding house, they may influence other children to their way of thinking, and a lot of things may happen. So just some sport kids manifesting what they know how to do best. I don't think they have any place at all remaining in that boarding house.
Okay. So, authorities too harsh on them?
No. Lenient.
I think they should have been sacked. They just made to come and write their
lenient. I mean, it's just I mean, and I don't even know how they are going to cope in the school, because it's very embarrassing, you know. And you know, people are just going to point fingers when they are going to say, you know, I mean, that's what they are going to be ridiculed. And I think that they should have been made to leave the school, and maybe Ghana Education Service relocate them, find another school for them. You understand? This whole NGO business of counsel, what's counseling? It's not counseling matter. The action that you take on a student like this is going to serve as a very instructive lesson to the other students.
That's right.
And you are sitting there with an NGO saying, what? If your child did this, will you be happy?
And if they're in a class with your child, wouldn't you be worried that they will influence your child?
Exactly. if your child, you are so you're down for the so let's be real. I think that's the Jisuman, how do you call the masters? They call them masters, right?
Yeah,
or the teachers. They've managed this thing very well.
Yes.
And I think the next thing is to now educate the children.
Okay.
On the downsides of some of these things. Because look, we all went through secondary schools. We all saw bad boys and bad girls in secondary schools. But if somebody is bold enough to take it to this level, it means he's daring the system. And we should clap for them because it's 2020. Please.
Thank you very much.
They should revise their
Thank you very much, gentlemen. There's someone Attah-Mensah and then Selorm Adonoo. When we come back, we have Vivian's view. Don't go away. Stay with us. My view tonight is on the growing number of unresolved murders and the killing of women in the Ashanti region and what appears as the dormant posture of authorities to this wave of crimes. Now, this week marks the 4th anniversary of the killing of Ghanaian MP J.B. Dankwa-Edu, who was stabbed to death in his home at East Legon in Accra on 9 February 2016. It's been 4 years, and the case has still not been determined. Fenwick Otre, entertainment critic, was also murdered in his home at Spintex Road 6 years ago, and as we speak, the killers have still not been found. Unfortunately, this mind-boggling development is being replicated in another part of the country, the Ashanti region. 7 women have been killed within 11 months between March 2019 and February 2020. The 7 are all reported to have been murdered within a 9-kilometer radius in Kumasi. But perhaps the latest murder, which has got the majority of us talking and increasingly worried and has even triggered a social media campaign, is that of a community health nurse, Ruth Eshan, who was allegedly raped before she was murdered on her way home from work. Now, as troubling and sad as all these may be, we're yet to see any strong response or action from the police in dealing with the matter. Is it business as usual for them? Indeed, had it not been that colleague nurses of Ruth Eshan across the country started the hashtag Justice for Ruth Eshan campaign, it would have passed as normal. This is how we appear to be normalizing killings and murders. Will the family of this nurse and the 6 others get justice? Now, when probed about the situation in his region and what the Regional Coordinating Council is doing about the matter, the Ashanti Regional Minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, said he cannot be held responsible for murders that happen in people's homes. Mr. Minister, with all due respect, it is your responsibility to deal with this matter. You should be worried about the development in your region. You should be having sleepless nights over the murders. Mr. Minister conveniently forgets that part of his social contract with the people is to ensure their safety and protection. I ask for the following as first steps towards assuring the public of safety from the Ashanti Regional Police Command in the wake of the killings that have left many people terrified and unable to go out freely to conduct their businesses. The Minister of Interior and the Ashanti Regional Minister, together with the police, should, as a matter of urgency, hold a press conference to provide a comprehensive update on the killings and where investigations have reached now. While each case must be investigated on its own merit, the investigation ought to examine and determine if the similarities in these cases are mere coincidences or part of a coordinated series of attacks against innocent women in the region. The Bantamahene this week urgently called for the installation of street lights in Kumasi since, in his view, most of these killings occurred under the cover of darkness. We associate ourselves with this call and ask that the authorities provide a timeline for the installation of street lights in critical parts of that city. We also associate ourselves with a call by members of the Registered Nurses and Midwives Association for a progress report on investigations into the latest killing, that of Nurse Ashanti. We also call on government to beef up the resourcing of state prosecutors and police investigators to speed up the evidence gathering and prosecution process of pending cases. Now, these are steps that will reassure the public of the state's determination to halt these killings once and for all. May God bless and protect and guide us now and always. This has been Vivian's View. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Thank you for watching What the Papers Are Saying. Goodbye.